in Genesis it's written, and the two shall become one flesh. In paradise, all of us have attended weddings and heard the phrase from the Old Statement, the Testament, and the two shall become one flesh, man and wife that is, that they're not separate anymore. They're not man and woman, but they're one flesh. Now, and I mentioned that we have heard it at weddings because if we ourselves open the first book of the Old Testament, Genesis, and read it, and few do, we would spot, if we study it seriously and in the Spirit of Christ, one of the biggest inaccuracies that exist in the text of Genesis. What I mean, we'll see it right away. First, let's quote the passage where there is talk about the creation of man and his placement in paradise. Genesis 1:26, and God said, let us make man in our image and likeness, and they made of the fish of the sea and roosters of the sky. Genesis 1:26, and God said, let us make man according to our own image and likeness, let him rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky. Genesis 2:15, and the Lord took man, whom he had created, and put him in the paradise of paradise to work and keep paradise. So it means the Lord took man, whom he had formed, and put him in the Garden of Eden to work in it and to keep it. A little further on, he tells us about the creation of Eve. Let's read the relevant passages. Genesis 2:18, and the Lord God said, it's not good for man to be alone. Let us make him a helper according to him. And Genesis 2:21, and God brought Adam into a trance, and he fell asleep and took one of his sides and filled its place with flesh. Comment, we see in the above verse how he describes the body of the heavenly man as flesh. This does not stand, for as we know, men clothed themselves in skins after the fall from heaven, which is spoken of in the next chapter, Genesis 3:21. And the Lord God made for Adam and for his wife skins. This is the first inaccuracy, but a more important one follows in the continuation of the passage concerning the creation of woman. Genesis 2:22, and God formed the woman from the side that he took from Adam and brought her to him. Genesis 2:23, and Adam said, this is finally bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because of man she was taken. Commentary. Again, in this verse, the paradisical body of man is given, always assuming that Genesis speaks of the creation of the paradisiacal world and man by God. Characteristics like flesh and bones. Genesis 2:24, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Comment, this verse was read by many, but few realize that it is talking about marriage between a man and a woman, leaving their parents respectively, and about sex and all this before the fall of man from heaven. So the Genesis era here talks about the mystery, the sacrament of marriage between Adam and Eve, man and woman. The fall of man is mentioned as we predicted in chapter 3 of Genesis, while the above is mentioned in the second chapter. To say the truth, Genesis 3:17 says, and to Adam he said, because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree from which I commanded you not to eat, the ground will be cursed because of you. Genesis 3:21, and the Lord God made for Adam and his wife coats of skin and clothed them. And Genesis 3:23, and the Lord God expelled man from paradise to work the earth from which he came. Comment, so this is proven to be an equally important inaccuracy. It is inconceivable that the firstborn had sexual intercourse in heaven, since they did not have a fleshly body and by extension organs for sexual reproduction. Let's see what Christ says in the Gospel according to Luke in a conversation with Luke about the Sadducees, about what people will be like when they deserve to win in the heavenly kingdom and return to the heavenly state. Luke 20:34, and Jesus answered and said to them, The children of this age marry and come to weddings. Luke 20:35. But those who will be qualified to enjoy the future age and the resurrection of the dead will neither marry nor come to weddings. Luke 20:36. Nor will it be possible for them to die, because they will be equal to the angels and sons of God, sons of the resurrection. Commentary. From the words of Christ we learn that the people who will return to heaven will be like the angels and will not come to, they would not marry. In other words, they don't have female or male bodies. They are sexless. Okay? So from the words of Christ we learn that the people who will return to heaven will be like the angels and will not come to weddings. Therefore they will not have fleshly bodies, but divine bodies, since they were made in the image and likeness, and these bodies will then, they will take again. So conclusion, reading the text, it seems that the Hebrews who copied the text of the Chaldeans and composed the Hebrew Genesis, see George Smith, The History of the Chaldeans about Genesis, either did not know what they were writing, or rather what they were copying, or the events mentioned in Genesis have a logic, provided we look at them in a different light. For example, the Christian philosopher Saturninus may have been right when he referred to fallen angels who tried to make the human body, not the heavenly one, but a fleshly body, so that the souls of men would come and man it to be tested in the falls of this world. And for more details, see why and how they live among us. Now, but on one thing is certain, theologians will have to find a new way to explain the so-called controversial things mentioned in the Old Testament, because as we have proven, not only do they not stand logically as accepted by the official Christian Orthodox Church, but they completely contradict the words of Christ. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Thank you. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box